So Georgia's offense had very little issue moving the ball against the Florida Gators. Easy win for the Dogs, though it didn't seem that way for a moment. 28-20 wasn't necessarily an offensive yardage issue. It was a turnovers issue and maybe some missed opportunities. We're going to touch on how Georgia was able to gain more than 500 yards. This is Film Don't Lie from UGAsports.com. That's Brent Rollins. He does data and things for PFF as well, Pro Football Focus. I'm Dayne Young. I get to play with video on here. Two quick pieces of business to handle before we get going. One, we have a new partner for Film Don't Lie, and we're super excited about this. They are a brand that I have loved for quite a while. Best coffee in Athens, best coffee brand in Athens. They are a staple. They're an institution in the Northeast Georgia area, really statewide if you order online. Jittery Joe's joining us for Film Don't Lie for the remainder of the season. We're pumped about that. Brent, I hope you've seen this, and I'm sure that I probably even
seen a
picture of it. The national championship can that they have. This is a special short-term can that they have. It's an offer. Man, this is a good coffee. And this is just one of those keepsakes that you can put somewhere in your house. Maybe if you have a shop, something like that. This is going to be a can that you want to have in your collection. Have you seen these in the stores at all? Or have you seen people that have bought these?
Yes, and I was thinking maybe I need to get one for back here.
We're going to be doing some giveaways for our folks with UGAsports.com, so stay tuned for that over at the Dog Vent. This can's really awesome. It celebrates Georgia's national championship run. You can find it in store, or you can go buy it online, get it shipped to you, jitteryjoes.com. We really appreciate their partnership, and we'll tell you more about them as we do our show. The other shout-out that I'd like to give, East Lawrence High School sent me this hat. That's my alma mater, class of 2007. So thank you to the folks at East Lawrence High School and Hobb Sporting Goods, David Scott, Don Wood, just so many people that support me, support what we do, and I'm really grateful for that. And based on the score that I saw recently, this may be the best news that East Lawrence has had in the last couple of days, but that's okay. They're going to get there. They'll get back on track. We're here to talk about Georgia and Florida, and Brent, it really was an offensive output for Georgia. Some mistakes in there as well, but we're here to talk about how Georgia was able to pass and run essentially at will against Florida.
100% at will. They really kind of did whatever they wanted, other than a couple like random 3 and outs that were really quick. But it was just mistakes. And when it's just like any game that we've seen this season from them, you give the ball away, you give the other team chances, you give the other team confidence, and Florida took advantage. And you had one sort of big mistake that led to the 80-yard play. But you think about the first half. Now for 3 straight games, it's complete and utter domination.
As I'm pulling up the video for this, was there anything just in the quick rewatch that caught your eye that Georgia was doing either different or just more efficiently?
And look, I like some of the layers, and we're going to show some of those layers tonight in the piece. But I think that's the biggest thing that I always watch. Because if you see something that, like, for example, we see a play that we've seen, 5, 6, 7, once a game, 2, 3 times a game, whatever that may be, we see counter. Like, we're going to talk about counter. What you want to see from that is execution. You want to see that each and every week that, hey, my execution is getting better. I'm blocking different schemes, still blocking it effectively. But when you see layers and different wrinkles, that's all right. Okay, now we're taking those next steps. And you would think that they got a lot in the bag, save for this week specifically.
Let's start with this play in the first quarter for Georgia's offense. First thing I just want to point out, just the amount of people that are moving pre-snap. This is happening more and more for Georgia and really around college football.
Yeah, and it's just when you look at studies over time, offenses that run motions, especially at the snap, are better. They're more efficient. They create eyes, they create pauses in defenses. And Georgia's done this. And now when you think about it, what does Florida have to do? All right, I'm resetting the strength. I'm retraining my brain. I had one thought, now I have a second thought. But early play action got Stetson rolling. I think of his first 6 or 7 completions, it was either play action, screen, RPO versus some of the straight drop back stuff that he did. This is his game, and he's really stinking good at it.
You talk about each week putting a man in conflict, and all eyes need to be on 22 here for Florida. Stetson Bennett's attention is on him fully. If he comes too far inward, then this is going to develop behind him. It's exactly what happened.
Well, it's one of the notes that I wrote down for this play. 2 things. One, you've got Arian Smith in the game at the top of the screen. Like, let's see more of it. like he just, to me, he has to be more a part of the offense, especially when you're wanting to throw and run the play action game, is not as much as if you're going to throw it to him, but the threat of him. Two, the guy you just highlighted, I don't think he does what he does if Darnell Washington hasn't been the receiving threat that he's been the past few weeks and for the bigger part of this season. Like this is in this game against Florida, 6 targets for Darnell, most 2 consecutive games where he's had the most targets he's ever had in his career. But he's staring at Darnell and like, okay, I got to come get him. He's going to leak out. That's what creates the space.
Beautiful pass here. We always talk about the potential wrinkles that can come from plays like this. Brock Bowers commands its attention. Georgia's offense runs through its tight ends. I'm going to let this play to this moment right here, and let's just kind of look at what we're dealing with. So 22 is going to be dropping back to try to help in that coverage. You have Darnell Washington setting an edge here. I think the wrinkle of this is pretty simple. Hey, Stetson, there's all this space. You could run out there.
Potentially, yes, especially if that blitzer goes inside. If there's like there, if the throw's not there. But you talk about Bowers, 8 targets in this game, most in the season. Like his previous high in the season was 5, and it was early. It was definitively, hey, early on in this game, we were getting Brock Bowers the ball.
From a formational standpoint, these 3 guys, they're using them in such beautiful cohesion. Bowers, Washington, and McConkey. And when they put them in this bunch, this kind of trips set here, there's just so many iterations that come from it.
Yep, and it's almost 75% of their offense can be run from this formation.
Let's go to the next play here. Still in the first quarter.
Just great little wrinkle. I mean, we've seen some of this, quick stuff to the guy in the slot, to Bowers in the slot. Now you're bringing those 2 guys, into the route and then kind of slipping underneath them. Good job of almost getting in the end zone by Dylan Bell. Like he's more and more each week, you see him make plays with the ball in his hands.
And once again, who did Georgia target in this particular situation? Number 22. Because they know that he's going to commit to Brock Bowers.
Yes. And I will say, like, one thing with this is like, okay, Ladd, the instant you saw that the ball was thrown, he kind of turns his head. Like if you watch Ladd here, right there, he turns his head. Oh, okay. Go hit someone. It's okay. Like you're really good at it usually. Like just go get in the way. I mean, I know you don't want to get a penalty here, but don't just stand there.
Overall, I love the fact that they're able to use the attention that Brock Bowers gets, use him in the blocking game, and let some other guys get some love from the playing time out of that.
100%. And you think about, I think the play before this was the play action fake Darnell right in the middle. I mean, it's easy money all the time with him. So it's screens, it's RPOs, RPO to with Darnell on the outside, play action to Bowers, like all that stuff early, especially on early downs, first and second down, all day. Give it to me all day. This is perfect.
Talk about the running game a little bit.
Well, and this is we talked about fake. Well, I will say, I think I might be wrong. I'm sure I am. And because it all blends together when you've watched as much tape as we have over the years doing this, I think this is the first time they've bootlegged off of this action. Because normally when they fake the toss, it's now let's set up to sort of drop back pass or everybody's doing things. I don't remember or recall them bootlegging off of that action. Like I said, maybe they've done it and I just can't remember it. But again, Bowers early, having a layer, having things that you want to do off of actions that you already are sort of a key part of your offense, and you get Bowers the ball quickly and let him go do things.
When you talked about the layers here, these are 2 great layers, and Stetson's third layers, if he kept it and ran with it. He could hit either of these throws. Obviously, Bowers is the safer one here, but I just love the layered stack routes.
Yep.
To have McConkey on the back end.
Yep. And I think we're going to see all of these things early on this week against Tennessee, especially with the way Tennessee plays and the way Tennessee sort of tries to sort of play aggressively to the football, blitzing heavily. They're one of the top teams in the country in terms of blitz percentage. You're going to see a lot of, hey, let's fake one way, bootleg the other, let's play action the other way, that kind of stuff.
2nd and goal in the red zone, end of the second quarter here.
kind of just saw this. This is like the picket fence, right? There's two guys in there, and then come underneath. What's Jimmy? What's Jimmy's last name in Hoosiers? I forget.
Oh gosh, I'm
The
not the
shooter,
movie buff, my friend.
the shooter, picket fence.
I
But
did
anyway,
just watch The Godfather though, so if you have questions about that, and let me know. That's right. It took me 33 years of my life to watch The Godfather.
just glad to see Ladd get in the end zone here. Just being physical with the ball, knowing that you got to accelerate as soon as you get into that catch because you're gonna take a hit. You're gonna have to be physical to get in the end zone. I like seeing Darnell extended out as a single wide receiver. I honestly thought they were going to throw it up to him right here, especially once the safety walked up on the outside. I thought, oh, they're going to Darnell at the top of the screen. I will say I don't necessarily like him running the fade route there, like where he sort of jabs in and then goes out. Right,
You hate the fade
there. I just because you have to now. Shooter was the coach. Thank you, Chris. But when you run that play, you have to throw the ball in a certain spot versus faking out and him using his size to sort of get to the middle of the field, out and then in. Now you have to get around him, and you can throw high and around him. I think that's just with him tougher to catch versus making him be AJ Green, DeAndre Hopkins, or somebody like that, and twist his body and jump and do those things. And yes, he can do it, but still, yeah, I'd rather see it more be sort of an inside thing than an outside.
With this play, football's a space game. Where's the space? Look right there. There's a lot of it. So, and George is making a good bet here that run straight, and then McConkey go to the space here, and it's likely going to be open there. And if you watch Florida's action off the snap, I mean, they all drop back here. They don't think that this is going to be in front of them. They're playing let's not let anything get behind us.
Which is that's like it's down in distance, know the situation kind of thing.
Yeah.
Hello, the goal line is there. Like let's
not. Like they can't go too much further than right there.
I mean, yes. Like I didn't really get
and
that.
Georgia has two timeouts, so it's not like Georgia's going to be too hesitant to run anything at once. It has two timeouts.
In general, I was kind of shocked at how little Florida was from an aggression standpoint. I thought they'd be in their face, just bringing the house constantly in the game, but they didn't.
Got a 2nd and 2 in the third quarter here. Now, pretty pivotal moment at this stage to where Georgia only has an 8-point lead approaching the fourth quarter, and this was I don't want to say game-saving drive because I don't think the game was in dire. Changed the feeling of the game.
It was a necessary drive. It was an absolute because they had just put 17 straight on you, and this is right after the big pass play that we're going to touch on when we look at the defensive part of it, where they had just hit you for 80. And while you didn't necessarily feel in doubt, I mean everybody on Twitter was making the 28-3 jokes out the wazoo, but still. We talk about this constantly with this play. And Devin Willock, by the way, did a phenomenal job, I thought, in the second half where he played, even though Gary thought it was Truss for almost the entirety of the game.
Gary a break. You watch the UGA Sports Watch Along show with me and Jim Don. Okay.
I do both. So I heard Gary just messing it up. But can you play in a phone booth? Like, and I think Dayne Edwards, especially run counter. Can you run counter in a phone booth? Because look how tight like everything is right there. Right is everybody's in terms of positionally good. Like their heads and butts are in the right spot for the blocking part of this. But that's just the back being really good at squeezing through the tiniest bit of holes that exist. And sometimes and oftentimes that's going to happen.
When he gets to about the 19-yard line, I'm going to stop him about the 18 and really set this up. So he's already a smaller running back in terms of stature, the opposite of Kendall Milton in a lot of ways. And not all the greatest, but the biggest asset that Dayne Edwards has is, I think, that he is shorter in stature. Because I'm going to hit play here, and he's already, like, he plays low anyway. But watch how low he gets as he tries to squeeze through this hole and go through that phone booth that you're talking about. It happens about a yard from where this happens. I'm going to hit play right now. You see that little crouch down, and then you see it exaggerated to come out on the other side of it. That's just some special instinct stuff. and not all running backs have that. And he seems to have it 2 or 3 times a game where there's potential that he squeaks out of a pile some way because, frankly, he can't be seen with all these other giants in there.
100%. And working with kids and high school kids, and even seeing some college kids that worked with a little bit. But like you said, I think this is one thing that's kind of innate. Like you have an innate ability to bend and adjust and get low and still being accelerating. That's the key. Being able to do all that while still accelerating. And I think he's sort of established himself as, I don't know that I wouldn't say that he's the primary running back, because I think Kenny McIntosh still is that because of the run pass threat that he gives.
Well, I think Branson is the closer in some ways.
And yes, but just your consistent, I know what I'm going to get, and I know I'm not necessarily going to get lost yardage plays frequently. He's going to give me what's there, and if there's a little bit more there, he's going to go get it. Because right now he leads the team 3.32 yards after contact per attempt, most 10-yard runs, and obviously most yards in terms of that, and most 10-plus yard runs. So he's been phenomenal this year and consistent.
Check out Big O here, getting all the way down here and sealing this side. Like that's almost unfair for a defense for him to be able to squeeze through and block off to where Florida can't even make a play from the inside out.
I'm pretty sure that's the guy that's blocking is that Shamar James, true freshman. That was at one point on Georgia's radar for that. Speaking of the other back.
Yeah, I put this play in here because they just kept saying how hard Kenny Mack was running. And this was, I think, the play that they were really talking about. That Georgia got really pumped from this.
Yeah, and Kyle Brent that does the NFL Network, that Good Morning Football or whatever it is, their show on the NFL Network, he does every week, the angry runs. Like Kenny McIntosh, especially in the second half, was running angry and just breaking tackle after tackle. In this game, 9 missed tackles forced. Like that's by far the most of any player, any back that Georgia in any game this season. His 27 on the season now leads the team by a wide margin. I think 16 is the next most with Edwards. But we saw this against Missouri. Angry Kenny Mack is a different animal. And it's just, okay, let's go. Let's see more of that.
Just from a comedy standpoint, because that's half of why I do any of the media work that I do. Darnell Washington, I'll point him out again, because if you've ever rented an Airbnb and you're trying to find the light switch in the middle of the night, that's exactly what happens here.
He's like, hey, somebody, please, where's somebody to hit?
Florida's just like, you know what? Not worth it. I mean, I know the play went the other way and dictated that, but it was just a really funny look.
We talked last year with Alabama about, hey, what's the best way to handle Evan Neal? Let him block air.
Yeah.
Go somewhere else. But yes, the play definitely dictated that.
Finally, this is a 4th and 7 play in the fourth quarter. And it's
Stetson's mastered this. He's really mastered this in a way. Now, I will say earlier in the season, a couple games ago, I think it was maybe Auburn. He chunked one to Kyrus, I think in the slot. It wasn't catchable at all. Like when you got a free play, throw a catchable ball. And that's what he does here. Throws 100% a catchable ball and just, all right, let him go get it all day. Take this all day.
Beautiful. Good job, Kenny McIntosh here because of, the rush coming in hot, making sure Stetson doesn't take a hard hit here.
Yep.
This is a really good job of blocking. And again, he was already pumped up from his running as well. But this is a free rusher, and he gets in there. Yep. Great job from Stetson.
And when you think about them offensively, especially this week, one, turnovers, obviously, it goes without saying. You have to take care of the football. But he has to be better. Like Stetson just straight up has to be better. He had 5 big-time throws in this game. Most he's had in any game this season. I think 3 was the previous high. Like, great. He made a lot of great throws, phenomenal throws in that game. But too many just like head scratchers, where mechanically or decision-making part where it's just like, eh. And that's, he has to get back to blending the gunslinger with the game manager part. And we're going to kind of hit that here a little bit in another video. But still, I think he has to be at a much higher level for them to consistently score against Tennessee this week.
And if you're thinking, guys, you didn't talk about Brock's crazy catch, we're going to. It's going to be in our play of the game. It's in a separate video that we're doing here in just a little bit. Hey, thanks to Jittery Joe's for sponsoring and becoming our partners here on Film Don't Lie. Go check them out at jitteryjoes.com. I'm telling you that national championship can is going to be a keepsake that you're going to like. It's really good coffee, too. That one a bit
Christmas
more.
coming up.
Yeah, perfect Christmas gift. That one, the coffee in that one is I would say about halfway between light and medium roast. Very pleasant. And man, this is when I drink a lot of coffee when the weather turns this time of year. It gets a little cooler. That's when I really love my hot coffee because I'm not an iced coffee guy. You can do iced coffee with this one as well. But I would say if you get that, maybe check out the Attack the Day coffee as well. That's the year-round that has Georgia's Bulldog logo on it. But that national championship can, go check it out, jitteryjoes.com. This is one of those things that I got for myself and my household and people I know even before we became partners with them. So dream come true. This has been Film Don't Lie, the offensive version.
So 1 point here, AM Fitness joining us, 852. Thank you. If we didn't mess around the third quarter, UGA would have scored 50 plus and 4. By the way, you could say that for basically almost every game. If they take care of the football, they're in the upper 40s, around 50 every single game. For the most part, Missouri maybe is the lone sort of, but they didn't take care of the football there. So anyway,
we're going to talk about Tennessee. That's coming up later on in our fourth video that we're doing tonight, and I think a shootout's coming. That's just what I'm saying. All right, this 100%. Has been Film Don't Lie. Thanks for checking it out. If you are watching live, refresh on our channel. We'll be back in about 2 minutes, and we'll be talking about Georgia's defense and the missed opportunities that allowed Florida to get back in the game. For Brent Rollins, I'm Dayne Young. Check us out at UGAsports.com. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And thank you to Jittery Joe's. We'll see you in just a minute.